Hi, I'm Tony, and today we're going to take a look at matching seams up. If you have a project where you have a seam that's got to go with another seam, but you're not quite sure how to match that up, and then you got to have a perfect point, I'm going to show you the trick of how you can take those seams, put them together, and get a perfect point every single time. All right, let's take a look at these two strips of fabric. I have two 45-degree angles that I'm going to be sewing together. So I want it to look like this. Well, the problem is if I do this, and then if I sew it just like that, well, it's not going to line up. It's going to be off because of our 1/4 inch seam allowance. Well, how can I match these up and have a perfect lineup with a 1/4 inch seam allowance? So this is how you do it. And you can do this for any seam that you want to make sure matches and lines up. So the first thing you want to do is I want to match this line to this line, and this one's going to go on top. So what I want to do is I want to mark a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way down this. So I want to figure out what is this 1/4 inch seam allowance. And I don't think that's going to show up, so let's use the dark one. It will show up on here. It's one of the reasons why I picked the black fabric for here. Okay, so 1/4 inch, perfect. And mark this all the way down. So our entire strip, as you see, I've marked where that 1/4 inch seam allowance is. All right, so now I'm going to take this and, oops, it goes that way. And I'm going to take this and I'm going to line this up where I think it's going to line up. All right, I'm going to put a pin going this way. So the pin is going parallel to my line. Then I'm going to finger press on that line. So I'm taking this line here and I'm finger pressing it open. Now you see when I do that, that's still off. That is not lined up. So what I want to do is I want to move this. I'm going to take this whole thing and I'm going to shift this down to the left. Okay, so let's put our pin in here. Now we want to put our pin in there, that way as we're checking our seam allowance and we're moving this up, that we're not shifting the fabric. The fabric is staying exactly where we want it to be. Okay, so let's take this and on that seam, that's pretty darn close. I think I've got it. I think I've got that. All right, so let's see. So if that's going to be where I go, now whenever I put this in my machine, I'm going to put it in this way and sew that way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue on and put my pins in facing the direction that I'm putting it into the sewing machine. Okay? So I'm taking these and I'm putting it in just like this. And then when I put it into the sewing machine, I'm going to sew straight down. I'm actually going to follow this line. I'm going to make sure I sew directly on this 1/4 inch line. I'm not going to measure a 1/4 inch. I'm going to do on here because that's what I use to measure this seam. All right, so let's take it to the sewing machine. I'm going to speed up the video. I'm going to iron it. We'll come back and we're going to check to see how it looks. And there's our seam. There it is. And that is nicely lined up. So do that for any of your seams, that if you're not quite sure how it's going to work, but you want to have a perfect lineup, that's the trick. That's all you have to do. And that is how you sew a perfect seam. Look at that. That is all lined up there. So that's going to work for a bunch of different projects. Hopefully you learned how to line some seams up in here. Don't forget to like this video, follow my YouTube, as well as Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, TikTok, my Quite Nerdy Quilters Facebook group, and Twitch, where I stream live, and I also stream live here on YouTube. Check my schedule on Mondays so you can see when you can catch me live.